For 4.5 years now, Chris Healy has been the face and the voice of Connecticut's Republican Party. He recently announced he will not seek re-election as the party chairman, and he joins us now to tell us why not.
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, there's always a time to move on. I think that we need some new leadership in the party. I've given my best effort. I think we've got a lot of things that to be proud of as Republicans. We've had some disappointments, like you always do, but I think we learn from them. And I think people now know they have a Republican Party out there that's offering principled options on how to run this government, both in Hartford and Washington. And so I'll be involved in that, that debate. I'll be supporting Republicans wherever I'm most productive. Mm-hmm. But it's time to get out in the real world and get a real job.
Right. What's your best moment? I mean, what are you most proud of accomplishing as chair?
Well, I think the success we had 2 years ago, winning up to 100 of the 169 cities and towns under Republican control, because at that level, at the local levels, where government means the most to people. And right now, all of those Republican mayors and first selectmen, many of whom are in Democratic towns, are managing those cities very well. We're coming in with zero budget increases, given the financial problems we have in this state and this country. We work very closely with them. We made a lot of strides in the legislature. We brought in technology in real time and social media to the Republican Party. And I think we showed that if people want to give us a look and a listen, we try to articulate something that's positive, pro-growth, pro-opportunity, smaller government. And we didn't let the Democrats get away with just saying whatever they wanted to say without trying to engage in a public debate. And that's really good for the process. It's good for our republic.
So at the same time that you're certainly proud of those successes in those campaigns, I mean, there are people who, put the blame on you for losing some big seats in the past in 2010 campaigns.
Sure.
I mean, is that fair? I mean, how big of a role do you play in?
Yeah, life's not fair always, but that's okay. We in our party we had lots of primaries. We had more primaries this last year than we'd had in the last 25 years combined. So we had a lot of people running, and that's good. We had a lot of activity. But unfortunately, those primaries, there's a cost to it. And if you're the Republican Party and you're sort of outnumbered 3-2 by Democrats, it takes longer to come back from that in August and to be victorious. Mm-hmm. My real disappointment in myself was I wasn't able to persuade many of these Republicans not to primary and to unite behind one candidate. So I came up short on that. But people felt that if they got into the finals as Republicans, they would have been successful, and we did everything we could to support them. But this is a team sport. Everyone has their responsibilities. I know what mine were, but I feel good about what we've accomplished, and I think the future is very good for the party. And because the future is good for the Republican Party, the future for Connecticut has some hope. I
mean, do you think that particularly in the Linda McMahon race that the primarying and the divisiveness there, I mean, did that hurt her in the end?
I think in the end that Dick Blumenthal had just become so ingrained in our psyche, no matter how much lying he had done and posturing, and that it was very difficult to overcome that. And, Linda, I think, became a better candidate as the campaign wore on. But this was the first time she ran. And there's always a learning curve, no matter how gifted you are or how much resources you have. I mean, Dick Blumenthal is like you wake up in the middle of the night, you go to brush your teeth or get a glass of water, and there's Dick Blumenthal in the bathroom waiting for you to shake your hand. I mean, that's what you're up against, sort of.
At what point did you realize that she wasn't going to win?
I thought that there was a point in late October where she was definitely almost dead even.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if it was any particular issue. The other problem we have in the state is that the power of the state labor unions is very strong. You've seen it here in the budget negotiations where the state unions paid absolutely nothing in the concessions and wages and benefits. They're allowed to express themselves through the First Amendment with unlimited resources to spend it on any candidate they want. And the rest of us out here with the state campaign laws, we're restricted. That's a huge advantage, and that's something that we need to come to grips with as a state. But I think that was the telling point for many of those races. They just had too much firepower, so to speak.
Of course, she's making, an appearance this weekend, and lots of people are wondering, is she going to run for Senate, do you think? And if not, who do you think is going to be the GOP candidate?
Well, she certainly is one of many candidates that could run. I think she's making every indication she's running. She's making a lot of appearances, speaking with a lot of groups, and she's listening to a lot of people out there, regular voters, which I think is a good strategy. Certainly there are other candidates that could emerge very easily. Some of them mentioned here, Rob Simmons, Scott France. It all will depend. I think by the end of next month, we'll have an idea of who's in this race.
Speaking of Rob Simmons, we solicited questions prior to the interview, and some people wanted me to talk to you or ask you about, do you feel as if, or they felt as if the party faithful, the Rob Simmons, the Lieutenant Governor Fedeli, were kind of left out in the limelight of Linda McMahon at the conventions? I mean, is that a fair assessment?
I don't know. I mean, it's a free country. Both Rob Simmons and Governor Fedeli and their people are free to exercise that. That convention was as open and transparent as any public event I've ever been associated with. Sometimes people, when they lose, they look for answers. They look to assign blame. But they certainly had every opportunity to make their case, and given the fact that they had been in office for a long time, they did the best they could when they came up short. But I think if you go to the videotape, you'll find, if anyone would watch the videotape of that convention, they'll find that everybody had their chance to say their piece and count their votes.
So who are the rising stars? I mean, who's going to be the one who's going to take back the governorship?
Well, I think we have lots of rising stars in our party. In the legislature in particular, you have Jason Welch, a new senator from Bristol, Len Suzio, who you just interviewed, a tremendous asset, winning a seat in Meriden for the first time in over 30 years. We have great young mayors, Mayor Ryan Bingham-Torrington, Mayor Mark Bowden, who is our lieutenant governor candidate. We have Jamie Stevenson. She's running for first select woman in Darien. Lots of young, exciting, competent leaders in our party. And I think that's the most thing I'm proud of. The level of intensity of people getting involved over the last few years has been great. And it takes time. It takes time to turn the corner and get people out of their comfort zone just simply voting Democratic. And I'll tell you this, in a couple of weeks they're going to get a tax bill from the state of Connecticut, and it should say from the Democratic Party of Connecticut, because they have orchestrated this huge fraud of a budget with a huge tax increase, unconstitutionally imbalanced, and they're going to make small businesses and people pay for the excesses of government. And I do believe that people, once they really realize this, on top of all the other social programs and this complete comedy we call the legislature is done in a couple of weeks, they're going to give the Republican Party a look, and we're going to be ready to make our case.
But, I mean, is that a done deal? I mean, can Republicans at this point, with just a few days left in the session, although there will likely be a special session, can they, do anything about it?
Well, we educate people. We get out and talk to people street by street. We use the Internet. We use social media. We have the truth on our side here, that this budget, largest tax increase since the Revolution, and I mean the Revolutionary War, lots of huge increases in spending, a bunch of lies about how it balances, a $1 billion surplus, which means we're being overtaxed by the governor and the legislature, and then a whole host of anti-business bills having to do with paid sick leave, allowing I won't say use the bathroom anytime they want, but a whole host of anti-business billing. And businesses create opportunity. Those folks that work in businesses pay taxes, which allow us to enjoy a standard of living. But the Democrats, all they care about is keeping the government happy, government workers happy, and the government workers paid no price. Because if they did, you would see protests, and their silence has been deafening. So they like the deal they got from Dan Malloy. So we're going to keep on fighting, never quit. And we're going to keep making our case. And I'm very confident that the Republicans will do even better next year and the year after.
All right. And I know that we'll continue to seek your opinions about it on all. Thanks.
Well, I hope somebody will.
And good luck on your job.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, don't forget, if you missed something here on The Real Story, you can now watch it online by going to ctnow.com. You can also catch us on YouTube. And for news and updates throughout the week, please follow me on Twitter and friend me on Facebook, Lori Perez, WTIC. Thanks for watching this week's edition of The Real Story. We'll see you here again next week.